Falmouth, I'm Callum. Today we're going to be doing a bit of winter mackerel fishing, and I'm going to be showing you a bit of the kit that we're using. We're going to be float fishing for mackerel using the rubber band method. I've got here some lovely 2 and 3 ounce floats and a variety of weights that are going to keep the float balanced so I can see them. So here I've got a size 4 Aberdeen hook. I'm just going to attach the mackerel to that, and it's attached to a 12-pound monofilament trace there. You can see that this is very short because what you don't want is this to wrap up during your cast. It's just a tiny bit of line that the fish hopefully can't see and isn't really too significant to your depth, because if you use your trace to set your depth, you'll end up having all wraps and all sorts of problems. But the way we're going to set depth today is by using this rubber band at the top. It's set at about 6 foot, which is what we're hoping the fish are going to be at reasonable depth. Then in the middle here, in between those two things, you have the swivel, which is in between, has the float loose and the lead, which is in between 2 beads. You can see there they're free moving, but when they're cast, it should come fairly uniform like this as you cast it straight. So you're just going to take your rubber band, place your line over it, and then just do an overhand knot. So get the 2 ends and just put one over the top of the other and pull that tight. And the great thing about this is you can slide it to adjust your depth, and you don't have to retie it or anything, so it will just slide up and down. Here I've got some fresh mackerel fillet from Reefers Bait and Tackle in Pembryn, which all today's tackle that's used is from. Today I got all my terminal tackle from Reefers Fishing Tackle, based in Pembryn. He services the whole south coast, and if you need any bait or tackle, be sure to check him out at reefersfishing.com on the internet, and you can find him on Facebook and Instagram as well. I'm just going to open it up and show you the bit of the mackerel that we use for float fishing. So I just use a pair of scissors to cut it and not a knife, because you get more precision that way. So you're just going to go from the top of the fillet, pull down like this. It's better to cut on the flesh side normally, but I like to do this because mackerel aren't too picky. Just something small like this will be perfect for the size 4 hook, and just scrunch it down and secure it using bait elastic. And the elastic, which is just twine for those of you unfamiliar, just going to secure it so that it doesn't fly off during the cast. So when you feel a fish strike your float, it should look like this. The float should fall under the water or raise on its side. That's a key indication of your float having a bite. And with mackerel, sometimes it's just a case that they swim upwards, where it's going to go on its side, as opposed to pulling it all the way down. From shore, it's more likely that you'll just see the float shoot under. When that happens, you want to raise your rod slightly and feel the pressure of the fish, and it should be like this on the end of the rod. Now this is just fish fighting, and all you want to do is gently play the fish into shore by reeling down and not putting too much pressure on the lip of the fish where it's hooked. So at the moment we're seeing these bigger mackerel, and quite a few out in the bay at the moment. We normally have a winter run in Falmouth of the bigger fish, but particularly this year it seems like there's plenty, and we've been having plenty on different types of methods, but this float method is great because the fish tend to be sitting around 6 to 9 feet deep, feeding on small silver things, which is imitated by the bait here, which is just a small strip of mackerel, funnily enough. And you can get this at your local tackle shop. For example, I got my gear today at Reefers Fishing Tackle, and you know, you can almost imitate perfectly what these mackerel are eating. Mackerel are cannibalistic. They'll eat pretty much anything that's silver and shiny. They even eat bare hooks at times. They tend to be less than finicky if you can find them. And this way of float fishing specifically gives you a decent chance of hooking lots of different species as well, like garfish, herring and all sorts, especially here in Falmouth where there's such a great variety of fish. These are great for eating or bait or whatever you want to use them for. Ensure that you dispatch them quickly unless you're going to need them to tow bait or something like that. They're great fighting fish, and they're going to give you a lot of fun if you manage to find them on a day like this. In terms of rod and reel, I'm just using braid on a fixed spool. Any rod will do it really. Mackerel aren't picky, they'll take feathers, spinners, jigs. I just recommend that you get a rod and reel, get out there and have some fun with it.